But with that, let's go into our Marvel rewatch section here. This is our time, guys, where we've been going chronologically through all of the Marvel movies and looked at what they do they still hold up? Are they still just as good in 2020? Last week we looked at a pretty bad one, I think, on everybody's list. Ken was the only one who went up on the rewatch. He gave this movie an 8, I believe, 7 or 8 by the end of it. He gave Thor.
Well,
the Dark World.
remember. He loved the latest X-Men movie.
This is true. He did give. Ken gave this thing an 8. I
haven't seen that.
You are blessed. Don't.
You're talking Dark Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I still refuse to watch it. There was one time I was like, I have HBO Max, and I'm like, I see it there. I'm like, I don't even want to try.
Yeah.
Do you just not like this 80s set of characters, or is there
no?
Just
I like the set of characters. I have heard horror stories of like just the way the story is told, and I'm like, I don't even want to waste my time because it's long.
How bad can it be though compared to The Last Stand? Like everybody said that was horrific. Is it really worse than that?
People have, the way I've heard it been told to me by many different people who have seen it, is it's pretty much a bad version of Captain Marvel. Almost.
Ooh.
And Captain Marvel was pretty bad to begin with. So
Captain Marvel was atrocious.
Yeah. So.
The only good scenes in Captain Marvel had Samuel L. Jackson in them, and the best scene didn't have Brie Larson. Okay.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Well, let's jump into our our Marvel rewatch. Today we are talking Winter Soldier. So I'm gonna ask these guys a couple different things about it here. Starting with, before we even get into talking about it, because I feel like our views or our opinions of a rating of 1 to 10 change as we talk about it within the show. So Matt, we'll start with you. Before watching this movie again, how did you remember it? I know this one's usually pretty regarded, pretty high up for a lot of people, but where did it stand for you as of your last viewing before this one?
I'm gonna go back and give it the rating that I gave it after I saw it in theater.
Okay.
And objectively speaking, this is probably one of my favorite Marvel movies that they've done. Just because it is so well done. It was different. It was a different departure from what they've done in the past, especially with Captain America. So I gave it an 8.5 out of 10 after I first saw it in theaters.
Okay.
And then. Yeah, but that's before I rewatched it. That's where it's already up really high.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What about you, Crimson? What do you give? What did you give, or how did you recall this movie being in your mind? Is it a 10? Is it a 9?
When I first saw it, for me it was probably a 9.
Okay.
Now I would say it only gets bumped down to maybe an 8, simply because I think Civil War is better.
Okay.
So I'd probably bump it down to an 8 just because of that. But overall,
it's a phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
How dare.
So I remember going to the theater and seeing this movie, and I'm gonna be really honest with you guys. I fell asleep in the third act. Not because it was boring. Not because it was boring or I didn't like it. I was just really, really tired. I saw it after church on a Sunday, and I'd been at church. It's like 5 a.m. We decided to go walk to a movie theater in the city, and then just sitting in the dark theater with a couple other friends, I just was like, oh, this is really good, and I'm really comfortable, and then just passed right out and missed the last act. So I remember walking out and being like, that was really good. I need to rewatch the ending and see what I missed. But after even catching the rest of it, it was solid. I'd give it about a 9. I do agree. I like Civil War, I think, a little bit more better if we're following that line of Captain America movies. Mo better. But I still give it about a 9. Going into it, what I was expecting. But let's jump into it itself. Let's jump into the movie. We'll start with the beginning, middle, and end here. Classic, story structure here. We get the beginning part. We see Captain America now. He's been in present time for a while. We get the introduction of Anthony Mackie's character. I'm drawing a blank on what his character. Sam, yeah, thank you. He's going to be Falcon, as we're going to come to know him later on, but we get his introduction. We see Black Widow again is playing a pretty predominant role, and then we get kind of just the setup of where they are at and what's going on with Shield and things like that. So, Mr. Potato, you saw this opener, you saw the intro and beginning. What did you make? Was this enjoyable to you? Is this did you like the direction that they went here with their first kind of opening mission?
Yes, on your left.
On your left.
Dude, it's so good. It was such a great opening. Of course you have that beginning part and where you get introduced to Sam, and I love it. You know, I love the chemistry between Cap and Falcon. I just think it's great. And I think it's like, of course, you know, they already have chemistry and, you know, in some source material, but I'm talking about like between the actual actors, they just have great chemistry together, and it works really well. But also one of my favorite things out of a lot of the Marvel stuff, I just love this version of Cap because he's doing the strike mission and he is just so BA. Like
right.
he's just like destroying people, kicking them off the ship, and like I just love the, like, you know, the soldier style Cap. He's just like all in, but it added that, it incorporated the stealth, and I love it. I even love his like stealth suit. His shield is dark. It's not super colorful. Like it's just it's like everything I love in like some of these video games, like on big screen, which is really cool. So I enjoyed all of the opening, and you're gonna hear that a lot about this movie because I really love this movie. So a lot of it, you know, there's gonna be a couple nitpicks here, but yeah, the whole opening part was phenomenal in my opinion.
Yeah, I love that. Like on your left, it just means more now after seeing
exactly
like the rest of the MCU, knowing what's coming, just to hear that joke and then know that it pays off even more later on down the road.
Yeah.
The other really cool thing that I liked, and I remember in the theater being like, dude, that is so freaking BA. Like,
yeah,
like that's just amazing. Like, is all the fight choreography. It's just so good in this movie.
Yep.
Like, it was surprising. I remember it taking me back and being like, this is not a typical Marvel movie, like CGI fight scene. Like, they straight up are actually fighting, and Captain America's just destroying people. And then you get that fight scene of him and the dude who like almost hits him, like almost he does like the backflip, and Cap backs up and it barely misses him. And then he's like, yeah, I thought you were more than just a shield. And then you think this like, oh man, this epic fight's about to go down, and he basically knocks him out with like one hit. Yeah, it's insane.
The thing, you know, it kind of, this whole movie takes a darker turn, and I think we can credit that a lot to the Russo brothers. You know, it's just that I love it, but also if like you really think about it, like some of these guys Cap's hitting, they're dead. like he's kicking their spines out.
Yeah.
Like he's they're like, they might not be dead, but they're paralyzed. Yeah. Like, you know, like they're getting screwed up, and I was like, I kind of like seeing that more. Like he's just out like, hey, look, we took off all the all the restrictions, and Cap, you do what you need to do to get these hostages safe. And he's over here like breaking people in half, and I like, who doesn't want to see that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crimson, what did you think of the beginning part here? You know, you see Cap throwing his shield around, defying logic and physics, and hitting people in the back of the neck to paralyze them.
Hey, it's a superhero movie. We don't talk about physics.
Exactly.
No, I thought that first thing was very instrumental in setting up why this movie is okay with just Captain America. Because if you think about it, you know, Avengers was 2012, then 2013, you know, we had Iron Man and Thor. Iron Man flies around, has lasers, shoots rockets. Thor, big hammer, flies, punches people across the room, lightning bolts. Captain America, not as visually impressive. Still a great character, has a cool shield, but they had to step up the fight choreography with him. And they did that so well in the first scene with that boat and his fight with Bethrock. He kicked the guy's butt, and it was so interesting. And then the fight I like even more a little bit later in the movie was him fighting the Winter Soldier on that highway. The fight choreography is amazing, and it had to be, because they couldn't. You think about Captain America: The First Avenger. It's the first time we'd ever seen Cap. It was just cool watching him throw the shield around and ride motorcycles. It was great. In Avengers, he had a whole team of guys. He didn't have to be that cool by himself. Now it's like, okay, Cap, you're in your own movie. You have something to live up to. Is this going to be interesting? Yeah. And they proved that it absolutely is. Both he and Black Widow stepped up their combat skills amazingly, and it was set up so well in those first few minutes. And, you know, I think that, you know, you're talking about he's kicking people's spines right out of their backs and things like that. I think it takes him away a little bit It does and it doesn't take away from his Boy Scout character of the first movie, because if you think about it, remember, he was a patriot, he was a Boy Scout, but he also was in World War II.
Yeah.
He knew that sometimes in war and combat, you kill the bad guys.
Right. Yep.
So I don't think that that's necessarily against his character for him to do that, especially in this hostage situation.
Well, yeah, he's a soldier. Like, you know, like you really think about it, because after that was my exact thinking. I was like, wait, dude, like he's straight up like potentially killing people. But I was like, wait, no, he's trying to rescue hostages, and these guys are like terrorists. Like essentially, they're evil. So yeah, he's in that soldier mentality. He's like, I don't care, give me these hostages. You did.
Yeah.
Right. And you think about like in Civil War, the beginning of that one, you know, he's using that shield quite lethally in that opening scene where they're fighting those guys in that I can't remember what country they were supposed to be in. Oh, I think it was Wakanda. No, wherever it was. Anyway, he's not holding back, and he's got his lines where he's fine with that. And I think it just all worked very well, showing how it's okay to have Captain America in a movie without somebody who can fly and shoot laser beams, because he's still awesome.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. I think all of what you're saying is right on. And honestly, I think this is the best like follow-up movie to any of them so far. I think it's better than Iron Man 3. I think it's clearly better than Thor 2. And like you said, it is. And on this rewatch, I guess I didn't realize how much, even in Cap 1, like this flows still, I think, that opening scene of him like potentially killing people, because you watch the first one and there's a lot of use of guns. Like even there's scenes of even Captain America during the war, like leading the charge with a gun in hand, you know, like, and I'm like, yeah, he probably did kill some people out there, you know?
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it flows right in line with his character here. But okay, cool. Let's talk the middle section here. We get the introduction of the Winter Soldier. We see Samuel L. Jackson die, not die. And we kind of get the main issue and problem that Hydra has infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. here. And now with Nick Fury not at the helm, Hydra's going to be taking over, and it's up to Cap to kind of rescue the world, save the day, and stop Hydra from whatever evil plan and whoever is behind all of this. What did you guys make of this whole middle section here where him and Black Widow team up, and eventually they get Sam even to join them? We'll start with you on this one, Crimson.
Well, first of all, can we just talk about how amazing that whole vehicle chase scene with Nick Fury was? That was
so
really cool. That was very cool.
Yeah.
But that also had a good time. I think that they did a good job of, you know, even those of us who are comic fans or anything else, we knew who Winter Soldier was. But they still added some mystery and almost some fear. I'm one of these people that I love listening to the musical score of a movie, and especially paying attention to how that music affects characters and scenes.
Yeah.
That screechy tone that they gave the Winter Soldier, it was freaky.
Yeah.
Like, and he didn't, you know, he was souped up in the fact that he had a metal arm and Captain America's strength and everything, but you know, he wasn't like a demonic superhero character, but he was kind of freaky in his look and the music and everything.
Right.
And coming after Nick Fury like he did. But that whole I thought originally when I first saw this coming out, when I saw Robert Redford was in the movie, I was like, that's an interesting choice. Are we sure? Isn't he kind of old for this?
Yeah.
But I think that he played a good bad guy very well. He played a very good white collar villain, I thought. Yeah. He wasn't somebody with superpowers. He wasn't somebody with a dark, evil look. He was a dude in a suit who was bad, and it worked very well.
Yeah.
And I think that he played both sides. He was bad, but also tried to still look like a good face of the good guys while he was at it. And I thought that he did a very good job lending his ability to how that story moved and how it made sense.
Yeah.
So I thought a lot of that worked out really well.
No, I agree. Mr. Potato, what about you? What did you enjoy in the middle section here? You know, go for it.
I loved it. Sorry.
It's okay.
I get distracted way too easily. No, I get Maggie's like, did a new console or game come out today? Because there's a long line at GameStop. Sorry, I get distracted way too easily. It's been insane. No, so the middle section I loved. I loved everything with, again, it's this on-screen chemistry with these characters, you know, Black Widow and Cap, and then even Sam. And I loved it all. I just think the whole premise of, you know, hey, Hydra infiltrated, you know, the greatest thing, you know, like to protect, you know, America and the world, S.H.I.E.L.D. And But it's crazy. But yeah, I love the music that they add for Winter Soldier. That screeching thing, and of course you could dive even deeper into it. Some people are saying like the guy took the screams of actually like Bucky falling off the train and stretching it out and making that sound, but really that was his idea. But I guess like I think the audio was corrupt for that, so he just got a random scream and did it and still played it. Like it's someone screaming essentially, like that
super interesting.
awesome sound. So it's really cool. And you see all the sound design, but again, I love the choreography between all this. It's just so good. It's grounded, but again, they're super soldiers, but they're still like, hey, it's mixed martial arts, and all this stuff is really cool. But yeah, I think it's phenomenal. I love pretty much almost everything about this movie. So yeah, after rewatching it though, it's just more appreciation.
Yeah, I will say I think this one is the only one out of the post-Avengers movies that have come out that makes sense for why there are no other Avengers helping at the time. In Iron Man 3, I was like, okay, this doesn't make sense. Where's the Hulk? Why couldn't, Thor, okay, whatever, he can't come back to Earth. But, like, where is Cap? Where is Hulk? Where's Black Widow? Like, there's nobody that could help out Iron Man in his, like, as he's like nationwide seeing his house get blown up. And then same with Thor 2. I'm like, okay, this is like a bigger, we talked about this last week. I'm like, Thor 2 is a bigger, like catastrophic world ending, like universe ending event. And not one single other hero could come help out Thor in that time.
Yeah.
But this one, like, it makes sense. After Nick Fury is pretty much killed off and dies, he tells Cap, like, do not trust anybody. You can't trust anybody else. And so the only person he really has is Black Widow and is Sam. And I get it, like I understand, okay, he's not going to call Thor. He's not going to call, Hulk, because he doesn't know who's really on his side anymore. So I really liked that portion of it. Also, this was still early enough in the MCU where they could undercut some of the tension with a joke in the middle of the action. And it wasn't like overplayed and cheesy. And I remember in the car scene with Samuel Jackson, when they're shooting his car down and he's just trying to get it to work, he's like, is there anything in this car? He's like trying to put up shields, trying to put up pull out like turret guns or whatever, and none of it's working. And he's like, is there anything that's working in this car? And they're like, air conditioning is fully operational. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this movie, yeah, it's so good. I love the middle section. Love the introduction of Bucky as an actual foil to Cap, someone who can go head to head. After we just seen him destroy all these people on the ship, Cap isn't invincible though. He's not Superman. Like, he does have viable opponents, and it's cool that we get to see that even on this level, and it not be played out and cheesy, and then to find out that there's personal stakes to it because it is Bucky. That I think just adds all the more to the movie. Yeah, and I think Black Widow and him play off great together. You were gonna say something? Go ahead, Crimson.
I do have one bone to pick with sort of this middle section, but before I get into that, I want to let you address your raid. If you want to. I don't know.
I didn't even see. Whatever. Hey, everybody, what's going on? Yep. Thank you so much for the raid.
Raid you.
Oh, Theologian, thank you so much for the follow, and for all the new people following. What's going on, everybody? We're doing our Friday morning show. This is our show, Hear Me Out. We do it every Friday. Right now, we are talking our Marvel rewatch. We just rewatched Captain America Winter Soldier, and we're talking about the middle section of it. But go ahead, Crimson, you were going to say something about it.
So the only negative thing I have about this section is when you're talking about Arnim Zola, and when they find out that he put himself in a computer. Oh, yeah. That makes no sense for the time period that this guy is from. Not one bit. Because so he was, I don't know, I'm going to guess an age. If he was in his late 40s, early 50s, like he looked like in the first movie, that was, the mid 40s probably so you give the guy another 30 years, he's in like the 70s. How the heck did he get his consciousness in a computer with that tech? It doesn't work. So like it was funky. Like, other than that, this movie was phenomenal, but that plot point was stupid.
Hey,
it just
just like you said, it's a superhero movie.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Well, and not to talk about physics, like I said a minute ago, it's a superhero movie. We don't talk about physics, but going back to Cap killing people, that shield is vibranium. It's supposed to absorb and redisperse vibrations. So when he hits somebody in the chest with that thing, their organs just went. So they're definitely dying.
There needs to be a video, some science done on how deadly is his shield.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that this is metal frisbee nailing you in the chest is bad enough, but the supposed Marvel physics behind it are definitely killing you.
And the Zemo thing in a computer, that hasn't been addressed. At least Marvel has somewhat addressed in their own movies. Not in this one, but in Civil War, when Spider-Man holds the shield, he's like, "What is the physics with this thing?" Like, he's the only one that calls it out. But
right.
Oh man. All right. Well, let's talk about the ending. Then we get the conclusion, the twist. We find out who was behind it all along. Robert Redford's character is in fact the villain of this, and we get the final showdown where Cap is going to try to have his cake and eat it too. He's going to try to save the world and save Bucky without having to compromise either one. And we get the final little action scene where Sam finally gets to become the Falcon. Black Widow does her thing, releasing all of the files that S.H.I.E.L.D. has out to the world. What did you guys make of the ending here and the final fight scene with Cap and Winter Soldier?
It was good. Okay, so I'm trying to think. What was it technically the middle part of the bridge chase scene too with
that was middle,
Winter Soldier?
Yeah, that was kind of middle. But I mean, you could talk about it if you want to.
I know, yeah. But that was probably like my favorite fight was actually that part. Like when they're all fighting and everything. And one, I just love the fact that Winter Soldier pulls what's his name out of the car, just throws him in front of the truck. He gone. Which it is a very Hydra thing to do. But I love that middle part, but I just love the straight hand-to-hand combat and that when they're in the street between Bucky and Cap. Like that just was so good. And
knife hands.
Yo, dude, I know the knife thing. I'm like, doing John Wick stuff before John Wick. But going to the actual ending part, you actually see Falcon flying around and you see all this really cool stuff. The helicarriers, which is such another, like, it is a comic book movie. But I like the ending. I liked the end stuff. It was good. It kind of kept me on the edge of my seat at the time. I keep getting on the edge of my seat every time I rewatch it because this is probably one of my more rewatched Marvel movies.
Oh yeah.
Other than like the later Avengers ones. Just because it's just so good. I love the ending probably the most. The middle, it's got a couple good things in it, but like opening and ending are the best parts of this movie for me. I always forget. It always throws me for a loop every time I rewatch it. But the end part with Black Widow was so good. Yeah.
Yeah, her disguise and
Mission Impossible.
Oh yeah.
Pulling a Mission Impossible.
That was good.
Yeah, I will say I after rewatching this even last night again, I'm like, how did I fall asleep in the third act? There's like so much going on. I must have been really tired. I will say that I love the ending. Overall, the movie is good. I think its placement in the MCU is weird to me, though. To me, this movie should have been like what Iron Man 3 was to after the Avengers, or what Ant-Man was after, or what Spider-Man Far From Home was. It's like it's the aftermath. And to me, this movie doesn't seem like its placing is just weird. I understand it's the follow-up to show what Cap's doing, but to me, this should have come like after like the next Avengers movie. Like this should have been, and also on top of Ultron, like S.H.I.E.L.D. is compromised. Because I feel like they set up that S.H.I.E.L.D. is compromised, but then nothing really happens with that. You know, and it kind of gets resolved in itself. I don't know. This seems like it could have been such a bigger setup for like almost a whole nother phase where S.H.I.E.L.D. is compromised. We need someone else to kind of help protect the world. I don't know. I just feel like this movie could have had a lot more bigger setup for some really cool stuff that sadly it all just is really self-contained, which maybe the Russo brothers wanted to do because they didn't know if they were going to get a follow-up. They didn't know how well received this would be. That's the only thing to me. I think the giving Robert Redford, as much as I liked him as a villain, I think it kind of sets up and makes it almost too easy. Like, it gives the viewers, like, here is the bad guy. It is Hydra. It is really these people. And I think it could have been a lot cooler if they would have went in a different direction, where it was like, no, it's not anybody who's actually like Hydra bad. Like, we get that. But if it was like, what if it really was Nick Fury behind it? What if it's just Nick Fury pulling the strings and trying to protect the world in a different way? Because they kind of set that up early on with his talk with him in the elevator. He's like, we're keeping the world safe. He's like, by holding a gun to their head, is that even freedom? And Captain America has to wrestle with the reality of today's world, that there is a lot more security, and there is, you know, like this different philosophy of how do we keep the world safe. And it would have been really cool if they just left that open and had Captain America totally depart from, you know, from SHIELD and even America in some ways, because of them not following the idolatry that or ideology that he has built into him. I could have think they just could have done some really cool things there. And I get it. They're trying to keep it self-contained and keep it to a 2-hour movie, so they don't, and they just say, here's Hydra bad, we defeat Hydra. That's the only thing in critique I would have made and would have wanted to see come out of this movie a little bit more. But Crimson, we'll go to you. What did you think of the ending here, with all of that Cap has in the end scenes here?
I liked the ending. I thought I had a love-hate relationship with him going back to the old costume. Because his other costumes in the movie were so sleek and cool, and then he goes back and I was like, it's classic, but it's puffy. Like, why is he wearing this?
It's puffy. It looks like a Halloween costume you get at the store.
Yeah, it didn't fit. You know, like it had the nostalgia, but it didn't look right. But other than that, you know, it was fine. As far as like the development of everything, and you know, with Hydra and everything, I felt like they got rid of SHIELD a little too soon in the Marvel universe. I would have liked to have seen this story be a couple movies later. But that being said, it did set up Age of Ultron very well. Because you've got Tony in Age of Ultron, you know, he's going, okay, we need something to protect the world. Let's have this army of robots. And everybody's looking at him like, well, that didn't work. I don't think we should do that. I mean, he wouldn't have done that if SHIELD was still a thing. Yeah. So I think that in some ways they wanted to get rid of SHIELD and also bring out Hydra as this other bad guy that they have to deal with time and time again. So it worked like that. But I did think that they got rid of SHIELD as an organization very quickly. Yeah. I would have liked to have seen them maybe... Because basically what they did was they set it up so that like 85-90% of SHIELD was actually Hydra. Like, what if you just cut SHIELD down by half and kept them around? Like, it would have... I think it still would have worked, but they basically completely eliminated SHIELD. Yeah. And this may be just sort of a nerdy actor appreciation thing, but I appreciated Robert Redford's death scene because a lot of times death scenes can be like, you know, they just don't look right. His was so subtle that you could almost see the life leaving him, but it wasn't overacted. He just kind of laid down and died, and it looked right, but. Yeah, I thought the overall ending was really good. I thought that they set up future movies pretty well. I thought they did do a pretty good job with making, like Jay said, you know, making Cap wrestle with this was a very different world thing. And he wrestled with that through the whole movie. But he kind of had this, he still ended up with this idea of like, okay, how much freedom are we willing to give up for so-called safety? Yeah. Do people really need that? Do they want that? And even if they think they want it, is that actually what's best? Yeah. Is that actually what's right? Should we hand up? That's something that it's a very real modern question for us. It's like, is that something that we ought to be going? Should we say, oh, just here, protect me. I don't care what that looks like. Just save me. Or should we maybe, you know, think a little bit through some of those things? Not to get political here, but you know, it's a common thing.
But I think that's some of the themes that this movie lends itself to, and that begins to set up really, really well. And then, like I said, I think for whatever reason, I'm sure there was a lot of decisions that went into this that they just end up going, well, it's Hydra and Hydra bad, so it's okay.
Hydra bad.
You can leave the movie theater and still sleep at night and not have to think about it too much because Cap didn't have to. He just got to hit people in the face again by the end of the movie.
Well, I think it went a little bit more than that, though, because I think Cap's big struggle with that was how did you let this happen?
Yeah.
Like, yes, Hydra bad, but how in the world did Shield? If Shield can't protect themselves, how are they protecting everybody else?
Yeah.
And how much can I trust them? And I think he still even walks away kind of wondering about Nick Fury a little bit. Like, okay, like you kind of proved yourself that you're one of the only good guys left in this organization, but even so, how did you let that happen?
Yeah.
So I think it was kind of a little bit of fear left in the end of that of what's next, because if this can happen to Shield, what can happen to the Avengers? What can happen to Tony? You know, like all this other stuff. I think Cap's questions coming out of this movie led him to be defensive against Tony's robot idea for Age of Ultron, because he's like, wait a second, I saw this go bad once before. I don't trust this.
Yeah.
So,
and then also in Civil War, which is I think where it really comes to a head of different ideologies, you know. Yeah, and that's why to me this just seems like this seems so much more important. So the overall Marvel universe than even Ultron did. Like Ultron, okay, it was kind of like a world-ending event, but this to me is like should have been more of the. This leads into things like Winter Soldier and everything else, you know, which I guess it does. It's just the order of movies, like I said, just kind of change it a little bit. But yeah. But overall, all right, let's give a final score on it, and then we'll move on to our gaming news here. Matt, after rewatching and talking about it now, has your score changed at all? Has it gone up or down or stayed the same?
It's gone up after rewatching it. I was at 8.5, and I'm gonna give it, just because I don't want to give anything a perfect 10. Yet. We're still going through our rewatch. I'm gonna give this a 9.8.
Marvel's coming up. That's what you want to give it 10 to.
Exactly. No, 9.8 out of 10.
I'm sorry.
Crimson.
I actually lost my cough drop when I did that. So where it went? Somehow on this floor somewhere.
It's gone.
It's gone. Bye.
It's become part of the ethos of of your carpet at this point.
That's so good.
Yeah, I think I'm about the same, Matt. I'm like still at a 9. I've really enjoyed it. I think I gave it an 8 before. I'm keeping it at a solid 9. This movie was really, really good. Like I said, there was just minor tweaks of things that I would have wanted to see a little differently. But aside from that, it's a pretty solid movie. Very solid acted, solid choreography. Some of the best choreography I think that we get out of any Marvel movie, even to date.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, you know, that doesn't rely on CGI and other things to kind of, you know, but just lets us see directly all the action. Crimson, what about for you? Has your thoughts changed on this movie, gone up or down as we've talked about it and done the rewatch?
I think it's about the same. I think I got about an 8 because, like I said, when it first came out, I thought it was a 9, and then I like Civil War a little bit better. I do think that the choreography of this movie actually influenced even the super-powered choreography of others.
Yeah,
because you see the first few movies, it's just like, beam, and that was good enough, you know. But then after this one, it's like, all right, let's do a couple cool moves, and then laser beam. So like it influenced it a little bit more. But I think this was chilling about an 8 for me, only because Civil War exists. If Civil War didn't exist, this would be a 9.
Yeah, gotcha. Awesome. Yeah, I think you're right. Like you look at Scarlet Witch or you look at Black Panther, a lot of their choreography has been influenced by, you know, this movie. I think, you know, so. Super cool. Guys, let us know in the comment section down below if you're watching the YouTube video later or right now if you're in chat. Let us know what your guys' view is. Did your thoughts go up or down? Did your score go up or down based on our conversation today on our Marvel rewatch? We will be continuing this next Friday with Matt. What do we have? Do you know what we have next week? I think it's...
should be Guardians.
Here. Yeah, you're right. Guardians of the Galaxy. That is, I think, the next follow-up movie. Because we're not doing it by release of... when they came
Guardians.
Out, we're doing it chronologically. Like, how did they appear and happen in the MCU world? So
Guardians so good. I love it.
We can't even play the music because of DMCA now on Twitch. Man. Everybody enjoy the music beforehand, and that's gonna be
exactly.
I'm sure one of the biggest things we're gonna talk about next week when we talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, aka Skinny Chris Pratt. It makes Skinny Chris Pratt hits the scene. But yeah, let us know what you guys think. What did you guys' thoughts on all of that?